Step 1, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you
Well, good morning to my beautiful coffee beans. Happy Saturday. Come on in. We've got a lot of breaking news from Friday night. We try to cover it all, but we just can't. So it's nice to see you. Come on in, grab a warm beverage, and sit down, and hopefully we learn something together.
Today's gonna be a good day. Wake up. Today's gonna be a good day. Wake up. Today's gonna be a good day. Yo, set your affirmations, aspirations. I got shit to do, the aftermath of preparation. Good food, good mood, blood in circulation. One step at a time.
Well, happy birthday, Mom. I hope you are doing well at 77.
Have some concentration, and if I make a mistake, it's called education. I try to do this every day, call it replication. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 So life ain't easy, yo, I think there's a reason though. Ups and downs, just like every different season, yo. Sometimes I'm high, other times I'm barely breathing, though. I always gotta fight and hide from the demons, yo. Negative thoughts are poison, they rot. Head full of flies, so here come the clouds. They'll never stop unless I can swap all the bad for the good in my head when I'm lost. Yeah, so I'ma fake it till I make it. Positive thoughts are overtaken, I got patience. One day at a time is how you operate a cadence. A flow, you grow, you show yourself a foundation. Stay away from all the shit that causes temptation. I know that I like to do it cause it's sensation. I live my life in my head like a narration. Don't expect greatness, do my best, man, I'll take it. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
As you wake up in the morning, you want to find the latest, greatest information about criminal cases and have an intuitive conversation about the suspects associated with these cases. Head over to the Bullhorn Betty channel on YouTube. Get breaking news right here on the Bullhorn Betty channel. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Coffee Club. Enjoy your stay and enjoy your day.
get up. It is time to get up. It is time to get up. I hope you guys are waking up. Oh, okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm Bullhorn Betty. We cover true crime. We're covering the case of Nancy Guthrie's abduction. I don't even know where to go through this because it's probably going to be a true ransom, but I'm still in disbelief. It's a ransom. I just still can't cross over that it's a ransom. I still can't. I feel like this is, we've heard from Harvey Levin that this was a well-constructed letter, almost teacher-like. I mean, you're starting to hit little things that we know about Tammaso, right? Tommaso Cioni. What's going on with him? We heard from Ashley Banfield that he could be a prime suspect in this case. And when we find out, we were told a lot of things up front that even from the sheriff that we took as the gospel and find out it's not true. It's not true. So a lot of us are scratching our heads and saying, what the hell? We like the sheriff. Sheriff's been in charge in this area for a really long time. But it doesn't seem, he seems like he's a great sheriff for not major crime. Right? Nice guy. Okay? We can definitely say, nice guy. He's a nice guy. Okay? He's a very, very nice guy. We like him. We don't want to be mean to him. That's how much we like him here on the Bullhorn Betty channel, right? We don't want to hurt his feelings. Like, he's a nice guy, okay? Unfortunately, this is the Bullhorn Betty show, and if anybody knows anything about our show, we need backbone and balls, okay? I don't know if you know about that. We backbone and balls type of people over here, okay? We're not nice. We're not nice people, okay? We're nice. Don't misunderstand me. I can be a very nice person. I love people and I love to help people. I really do. Okay. But when it comes to cases, when it comes to children, missing people, elderly abuse, I'm not a nice person. Okay. I don't want people to come here and think that I'm a nice person. Okay. And that's the problem. And another problem we had with the sheriff is that he talks and he lets people, he's a sharp guy. I don't know how to say this the best way. So I find it's just best to throw it out, right? So the sheriff, in all fairness, the sheriff is a nice guy, but he likes to talk. He doesn't quite think things through, in my opinion. He gets himself, he needs to slow himself down. He's so quick to answer a question. And sometimes I've learned this little thing called breathing, right? Ask a question, take a deep breath, right? Maybe count to 3, right? When you're in a position of power and things are blowing up in your face, sometimes you just need to take it nice and slow and easy, right? And that's what we find out that the sheriff does not do. Now, you guys have seen me take things not so slow and easy, right? I'm a content creator, okay? I'm putting it into perspective for you folks. I'm a content creator, okay? I'm not, okay? I don't need to be a nice person. I don't need to be rough around the edges. I do need to be nice. Don't need to be nice. It doesn't matter what I do because I am a content creator. But when you are an official, we expect certain things from you, right? So nice guy. I don't want to be overly beating him over the head. It's always easy to be a Monday night quarterback, or quarterbacking for somebody, and it's just not fair to the sheriff. The sheriff does what he thinks he's doing, and he thinks he's doing it right. We're on a completely different wavelength here, okay? Something happened to this poor lady, and I think it's over and above the sheriff. And in many cases, a lot of cases can be, right? If you're in an area where you're not dealing with a whole lot of crime, you probably don't have a lot of seasoned agents in tough crime. You don't have the ability to keep somebody on staff with enough stuff to keep them sharp. It's not a bad thing. It can be. It can be a bad thing. It can be a good thing. Hey, GE girls, nice to see you. Let me stop for a moment, just say hi to the people in chat. We got quite a few people, so I'm not going to be able to say hi to everybody, but certainly we can go up and say hi to a few people. Tammy, it's nice to see you. YouTuber is always here. It's nice to see you. Don't. No, I'm just joking. We like YouTuber. We like you all. Houston, it's nice to see you. Sammy, Smiley Story World. Wait. Let's pump the brakes on that. Okay. Smiley. Oh, by the way, for Melanie's mom, happy birthday, Mom. It's nice to see you. It's nice to hear from you. It's nice to have your daughter in our chat. She loves you to the moon and back, so happy birthday. Smiley Stories World is another content creator that goes over these cases. So if you guys have not hit up Smiley Stories World, please consider hitting her up and subbing up to her channel. We've got Jen in Georgia. Been a while, my love. I hope you are doing well. Randa, good morning. It's nice to see you. Lisa B. As always, it's nice to have you here. Oven Baby, good morning. Good, very, very early morning. Trust the process. It's nice to see you, Love Bug. I hope you're doing well. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. Ginny, it's nice to see you. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. So, folks, GE Girl, it's nice to see you. Who else do we have up in the house? Who else do we have? Nikki, it's nice to see you as well. I know there's a lot of people here, so good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here ridiculously early. On Saturdays, we go ridiculously early because it's the only day that is designed for Delilah. Delilah is my dog, and she's such a good dog. I've had her since she was a puppy, since she was 8 weeks old, and she has been a doll. She has not chewed cords. She has not chewed shoes. She's just been a sweet, sweet, sweet little girl. And even here during the day, she gets a little fussy sometimes here recently, but that's because she hasn't been able to run outside because of the weather and stuff like that. I can't, my bones just don't allow me to go out there and play with her in the very cold weather. But anyways, every single Saturday is her standing play date with her aunt and her boyfriend, right? She got a big dog boyfriend. She loves Bandit. Bandit's a big Australian sheepdog, right? Or wolf dog, or whatever the heck he is. He's the I don't know if you guys watched Secret Window with what the heck is the Pirates of the Caribbean guy's name? The whack job. Johnny Depp, right? Johnny Depp. And Johnny Depp had the dog, that dog in The Secret Window. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go look it up on Google. But that's the dog, the Australian dog. That's what kind of dog. Delilah's in love with that dog. Okay. Now, granted, they'll never be able to really be in love or anything like that. It just doesn't work that way. But Malamute. No, it's not an Alaskan Malamute. Unless that was an Alaskan Malamute. I thought it was a Australian sheepdog or herd dog or something like that. Anyways, I digress. Long story short, this is her play date. So we have to be over there. We spend the whole day. So she really gets worn out and run down, but she's around other animals, other people. It's just great, because we're here by ourselves, and you don't want her getting clingy. You don't want to get her getting bitter. You don't want to get her, overly aggressive. And, anybody that touches me, she, I don't like that. Okay. I'm just going to let you know, I train my doggies. Okay. My doggies are good dogs. She's a Chihuahua. And yes, she yaps if things are wrong, but not typically. I make sure she's not a heathen. Okay. I make sure I train mine. Okay. I'm just letting you know I train mine. All right, guys, so we're not going to be spending too much time. Let me go ahead and get through the intro here real quick. So we have an 84-year-old grandmother that seemingly was ripped from her bed and ripped from her home in the middle of the night. Her pacemaker stopped connecting to its Apple Watch around 2 a.m. in the morning. Let me go ahead and put this timeline up for everybody in case you are unfamiliar with her timeline. This is the official timeline from law enforcement, and they state on January 31st, 2026, she took an Uber over to her daughter's house. It was my understanding that they played games and had some alcoholic beverages. Maybe that's, people were asking, why did she take an Uber. She may have taken an Uber because people, especially older people, don't mind driving during the day, but they find it more difficult to drive at night because their eyes glare, right? And it makes it very hard to see the lines on the road and things like that. So there could have been multiple reasons why she chose to take the Uber over to her daughter's house. However, we are learning that her son-in-law, Tommaso Cioni, Annie Guthrie, her oldest daughter's husband, okay, is the one that dropped her off at the home. Now, again, I'm not sure how I feel about it taking her 2 minutes from getting from the garage door into her main house door. I don't know how I feel about that, but I digress. It took 2 minutes from her opening the garage door to when the garage door closed. But that's not really the most concerning thing. I think the most concerning thing in this timeline is early in the morning. It does identify that somebody was lingering around the exterior and interior of this home for almost 40 to 45 minutes. That's definitely not common for an abduction ransom. Okay, when you got to think of an abduction ransom as such as a smash and grab, right? They're wanting to get in and get out with the person as quickly as possible and start getting their needs met. They want to start sending out the ransom. It is my understanding when you truly have a ransom, this is a very strategic process. These people are professional outfits. These people want to get their money and they want to get out. So it truly is about money for them. We're going to hear from an investigator later in the show that one of the news broadcasters had brought up that I thought had some interesting insight and information related to this abduction. And then, of course, you get down to the bottom, which is, again, more critical. We've been told for days that the family was notified at 11, shortly after, arrived at the home, and took over an hour before they called law enforcement. Now we're hearing they didn't even go over to the house until 11:56, and it sounds like they weren't even prompted by possibly churchgoers. We're learning that it's possible that the grandmother, Nancy, did online church. And let's face it, you can't tell who's in church and who's not in church online. The only thing you can see is whether they're talking or chatting in the chat box. That's it, right? So it now it's starting to cloud up this this area of time of what prompted the family to go over to the house. So again, we've got a lot of questions going into this case and a lot of unanswered or unexplained events that are happening. Typically, let's just talk about our typical cases on this show, okay? Typically, when we're covering a missing person case, let me get kind of more in my camera. When we're dealing with a missing person case, one of the first things that we're trying to identify as a true crime person, just a normal Joe monitoring the case, is all the timeline, right? When did they leave the house? When did they come to the house? And who was around them that day? Those are, some of the very first questions that we have. The next thing we're going to have is who was the last person to see this individual, right? And then we identify that person. It doesn't mean that the last person that was identified is the culprit, folks. There could be a lot of things that go on. In this case, unfortunately, the profile is not of a ransom. I mean, granted, that's what we're dealing with here. At least that's what law enforcement is one of the angles that they're going down is this this ransom avenue. But when you take the totality of details and you really process what is truly going on, nothing really makes sense other than somebody close to her is doing this to her and her family. In my opinion, I want to make sure that's stated. A lot of people, I've been watching a lot of people, the differentiation between what is fact and what is opinion is lacking in a lot of reporting. And I think it's causing confusion in the audience. And so let's face it, we do not factually have a whole lot of information. What we can factually tell you, and let's face it, statistics are factual, okay? Statistics say that, 99.9% of the time, it's going to be somebody she knows, okay? There's still that part in the statistic that equates for the abduction, right? We have a 0.01 chance that it could be an abduction. So that means it's still on the table. It's just a low priority, you see? The higher priority is that it's most likely somebody that knew her behaviors, that knew her, that she lived alone, that knew she didn't have animals. You see what I'm saying? Like if you're breaking into a house at night, you've got to be sure of many things. And one of those things is whether or not you have an animal. The last thing somebody wants to do is open a door that they know is not going to set off an alarm and then have a dog barking, being the alarm itself by barking, right? So you're really taking a chance of breaking into a stranger's home, you see. And I think that that's where this is starting to feel, when you really start granularly looking at this case, it really kind of dismisses this ransom. But again, here we are. We're having to entertain it because there was a ransom note. You can't just arbitrarily, law enforcement does not have the ability to say, oh, this isn't evidence, because what's going to happen when they do find the person? They're going to say what in court? Their defense attorney saying, but you did receive a ransom note, did you not? Well, yeah. But you didn't follow through with it? You didn't check it out? Well, no, we had evidence your client. Well, that's not sufficient, okay? They will capitalize. A good defense attorney will capitalize on the fact that they focused on just their client and nobody else. So no matter how you look at this situation, they are going to have to entertain the ransom, no matter what. No matter what. No matter if they know for a fact 100 that they have evidence that supports this guy doing it, right? XYZ guy doing it. They will still have to go down this. Why? Because the defense attorney is entitled to know that they had a ransom note. And he's entitled to know what is the result of that investigation into the ransom note. And his client is entitled to that information. Okay? So if they didn't have it, or they arbitrarily behind the scenes said we determined that it was unrealistic. What did you use to determine that? Well, I used my gut instinct. Boom. Okay? They have a defense. Okay? So they have to go down this road no matter what, in my opinion. They're going to have to take that car, but it wasn't handed over voluntarily just to exclude it. That's what I'm understanding. We're going to get more into that here in just a few moments. But it was taken by warrant. That means that they had to go to a magistrate judge and explain the probable cause necessary and what evidence they believe they're going to proffer from that impound. Okay? So this is a little bit more of a legal step and process that they have to go through to get that warrant. So I think that that's important and noticeable. So I'm not dismissing Ashley Banfield. Actually, I'm supporting a lot of the stuff that she is saying. And I can see why law enforcement is looking at the son-in-law. I do believe they are looking at the son-in-law as well. Okay, I want to make sure that that's clear. I do not believe that he's not being looked at here. I believe that even his wife is, unfortunately, her older daughter, Annie. I think she's being looked at as part of this investigation as well, to make sure she has no culpability, that even if they do believe or suspect that it's possible for the son-in-law to be culpable of this. Again, we don't know these people. If we knew these people, we might say there's no possibility that this son-in-law is responsible. He's a big old teddy bear. He's the nicest guy in the world. We don't know these people, okay? So we can look at somebody and say, oh, he doesn't look good for me. Oh my gosh, he looks really sus. It just because we feel that way doesn't make it so. So I'd like to differentiate that. I'm on board with what's being said, and I want you guys to know that. But I'm still not willing to say, oh, it's him. right? There's got to be a little bit more here than just the suspicion. Yes, my eyebrows are raised. Yes, I'm side-eyeing him. Yes, I believe that he hits all the boxes, and I believe that this might be a real possibility. But so far, haven't seen that it's him. It's definitely him thing, right? So that's where I am in all of this. He fits good. But I haven't seen anything that seals the deal for me. Okay. So we're going to keep talking as if he's a person of interest, but not a suspect. Okay. Because I don't see anything that's pushed him over the line of being a suspect. He might very well be the suspect. He might very well be the culprit. Again, we haven't seen anything, even from, the true crime genre. I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen, for example, let me tell you what I'm looking for, okay? I'm looking for an ex-girlfriend saying he beat the shit out of her, right? I'm looking for somebody that says, oh, when he goes out drinking, he gets violent. I'm thinking, not necessarily somebody that's in their immediate environment. I'm looking for somebody out there in the other realm of people that know these families. And so far, if we started hearing about him possibly, and you guys can look in the past and look at past behavior, but typically when we start, or say like Ashley Banfield, has a source that breaks some shocking information, like they're zeroing in on the son-in-law, which again does make sense. Okay, in all reality, it fits statistically, it fits everything. The son-in-law fits everything. Let's be honest. So, but you have the son-in-law. Well, then you once that's known, then people start coming forward. It's like, okay, well, the elephant is kind of out there now, right? They've already vocalized that they're looking. Now you got the people saying, you know what? I used to work with him. And I got to tell you, when I worked with him, he was not a nice guy. And, I kind of knew there was something funny about him. You guys know those interviews, right? So he's been identified for several days. And still, we do not have any of that coming out yet. Okay. And typically what we see in these cases when a prime suspect is potentially named is that, hey, T-Bone, what is this? He does have that look. But you're right. I don't think there's anything as of yet, even with the normal mortgage on their new home. Yeah, there is definitely, I get you. I just want to let you guys know I'm not dismissing anything that's being said about him. It's just that I haven't seen anything that gives me that it's him. He fits the boxes. I'm definitely looking at somebody like him, right, in her world. So if he is ultimately arrested, it's not going to be a shock to me. But I think if it's somebody else in the same kind of realm, like, in-law or, domestic worker, such as the landscape guy, the house cleaner, the LPN, the caretaker, her caretaker, or maybe somebody that's disgruntled that was fired or whatever, those are the types of things that, those are the types of people I think that would be the most, relevant here. It's the act of taking her out. The only reason why taking her out of the home really bodes with the ransom is because that would be the only reason why you would take the victim out of the home if you don't know the person. You see what I'm saying? If you knew the person, if you were familiar with who the person is, that's the reason why you're concealing the body. Okay. And so and I've made this very clear on my position of why I believe she is not a ransom victim and why I believe she's deceased and it was somebody very close to her. It's because she's removed from the house. I've looked into the details of potential ransoms, and yeah, we have had some ransom, for $500,000 here, but they were with 17-year-old kids, not 84-year-old grandmothers. And there was 2 of them that I could see in recent years, but the ones that stood out is we didn't have any ransoms in recent years in the United States. The last time we had it was back in the 60s. So you see where I'm getting when I say that this seems like something made for the movies. Then we're hearing from Harvey Levin that the wrote it yesterday. You're going to have to watch the live yesterday, or one of the two lives yesterday, where we had Harvey Levin on and up on the screen, and Harvey Levin basically said that this email was well constructed, almost like a teacher. And again, going right back to the son-in-law, which is a teacher, very eloquent in his words. We've heard his wife, that's a poet, talk about him being the inspiration, him being her inspiration, and how he is so great with words. And he produces music, i.e. words. So you're seeing that even the stuff that is coming out really is starting to start focusing on the son-in-law. Even the most recent Levin, I've got to find that again. Maybe I'll go back and find that. If somebody can find that, where he discusses that. I had it up yesterday. I know I had it up on either my morning show or my afternoon show, that we discussed Levin. So now we're going to go to the second ransom note. And this was the lady that we brought up, and I read and it was yesterday, and I read her statement about the first ransom note. And we may go back to that. I still have that. Actually, let me see what I do have in okay, where is my, I probably have it here. There it is, all the way down at the bottom. Hold on, let me bring this up to the top. All right. It's not allowing me to go up anymore. I don't know why it keeps doing that to me. So let me just keep going down. Nancy Guthrie. Okay, let's put this above. Oh, did I just put it in Nancy? I did, didn't I? I didn't mean to do that. Let's just put this right here. Okay. So do I have that? Pima, anchor, news anchor. But I do not have Harvey Levin. Shoot. No. All right. Well, I don't have Harvey Levin, but we'll go ahead and play this one.
What can you tell us now? When did this message come through, and what can you share?
This morning around 11:45, that message came into the same tip line that original message came into, and we were, needless to say, pretty alarmed by seeing this. What I can tell you is we did send this over once again to Pima County Sheriff's Department immediately, and we did get some information from them. I'm going to read some of my notes here so I don't speak incorrectly, but they say that this is not the same IP address, but it appears the sender used the same type of secure server to hide their IP address. So that's all that we know about the sender at this point, which unfortunately really isn't much. And this new note does contain something that the senders seem to think will prove to investigators that they're the same people or person who sent the first note.
And again, we need to remember that the first note was sent to 3 different people, 2 local and 1 national, which was TMZ. I don't know who it takes TMZ seriously. Like, I've always thought that sending it to the Today Show would have been more appropriate if it was really a ransom taker and note writer. And then we find out from Harvey Levin that it was a very, very well articulated, well written. I mean, he went out of his way to make sure we understood how well written this article or this message ransom was. And so that really, because when you're in a field like English or writing music or writing poetry and stuff like that, you're trained to write properly. You're trained to use commas and periods and proper dialect in English. And people that are proficient in that do it religiously. They do it without even realizing what they're doing, okay? It's so second nature to them They can't stop, okay? It's like breathing for you, right? When you're an attorney, you know the law. When you are a doctor or a nurse, you know how to administer medicine. You know how to draw blood. You know how to look at x-rays, okay? You are proficient in that. And even when you're off the clock, if you see something, your mind just automatically starts applying your processes, your learn things that were taught to you to justify or process through some information. For example, when we throw some stuff up here that has shadows and images, who are the best people that help describe what we're seeing? You know who are? The people that look at x-rays all the time. They're the ones helping us decipher what we're seeing, on all of this stuff. So when they're crafting, when you have a criminal crafting a letter, they don't shut off their teachings. So if they are well articulated in paper and in writing, then they're going to continue that. I mean, it really takes effort to remove that. And when you're in a stressful situation, the last thing you're thinking of is altering your speech pattern. I mean, even me knowing speech pattern means a lot, even written, I don't ever consciously think about altering my speech pattern, right? Or how I speak, because that's how you speak. You've been speaking like that for years. It's the old adage, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? And so when somebody has a dialect or a speech pattern, it's their dialect or speech pattern. It's very difficult to alter that. You really have to put in effort, okay? And when you're already anxious, you're not thinking clearly to know or to think to put the effort in my opinion. Now, I don't know that to be true, just my opinion.
Is it clear to you, looking at the first communication and now looking at this one, which is trying to show that it's from the same sender, what that information is that individual or those people think will connect them to the original ransom letter?
Magic Stars, nice to see you.
Yeah, I would say so. I'd say they're, making an effort to, again, like you said, prove that they are the same persons or people, people or person involved with these same two notes that we've received.
What can you tell us now? When did this message come through?
Okay, so you guys got that. Now we're learning some information from Brian Enton. Brian Enton is boots on the ground. This is where I got some of my footage, right, from that's on some of my posts that you may have seen this morning on X or Facebook. Oh, thank you for the new subscriber. For all the people that are just now subscribing, thank you for coming in. Thank you for supporting this channel. We just take a deep dive into what's out there on the ether and try to make heads or tails of it. I am not out there boots on the ground. I'm actually really, really seriously entertaining being out there. This case is just moving at such a fast pace, but I feel like after the statements from President Donald J. Trump, we might have this case wrapped up sooner than later. I pray. So what we found out yesterday is that the media was in front of their home, in front of Nancy Guthrie's home, and how everything kind of transpired is we were live here on our show yesterday evening, and one of our audience members reached out to us in the chat and said, we have breaking news. Something's happened. Another response, another communication, has come from the abductors. So, of course, we stopped and we started looking in and found out that Brian Enton was out on the scene, and he is talking that there has been some communication coming in. So we started doing some searching, in real time, just some quick, preliminary searches to find out if we can make heads or tails of anything. And so we go over to Brian Enton's channel, and shortly, within a few minutes of him releasing that information, we're watching in real time a video being dropped about law enforcement pushing the media back. The media was right in front of the house, lined up in front of the house, much like Gabby Petito's. This is, I'm familiar with this type of chaotic scene out there where it's just a media frenzy. And this is what is out there. And so what they did is they ended up moving all the people away from the house and put cones on this I want to say like maybe a 1/10 of a mile stretch of road where nobody could go in and pass. And then that's where we knew, and we're like, okay, this is on the heels of the second communication. They just ran in there like a tidal wave, almost a tidal wave of law enforcement. They just start hopping out of their cars. They start moving the media back, and it was like boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, oh, this is serious. Oh, this is serious. Oh, this is serious, right? And you could tell it was serious. I mean, this was no joke. Like, they got this in. They started coming to the house. Next thing you know, a few minutes later, we've got the Nancy's SUV, her Subaru, being pulled out of the garage and impounded and taken in for evidence. And people are scratching their head. You know, this person was around the house for 45 minutes that we know of. That we know of. How do we know that this person didn't grab her vehicle to remove her from that house? We clearly see that there was blood, her blood, on the outside of the front door. We can't explain how that blood got there, but everything I'm reading and hearing from law enforcement and everybody else, it says it stops right there. Okay? It doesn't go down the driveway. It doesn't go down the pathway. Could she have been wheeled out of the front door? I guess she could have been. She could have been walked out the front door. I don't know. But it's scary to think what happened to her. It's scary to think whether, because I truly believe somebody committed homicide inside that house and then ended up taking her out of the house. And that's what I truly believe happened. But I don't know if that's true. And that's why I said I think it's a homicide followed by immediate concealment, which would make it somebody closer to the home. You know, we are entertaining this ransom, these ransom demands, but I'm just, you know, and I'm telling you guys about them, but I'm not hooked into this whole ransom scenario. I think this is a hoax. Maybe it's a hoax by the person that hurt or harmed Miss Nancy. I'm not sure, but that's how I feel. I feel like, you know, maybe this is authored by the right person, but I still don't believe it's a ransom. I still believe it's a scapegoat of some sort. It's a red herring, either proffered by the person or somebody that's just very clever and is assuming a lot. So that's when the officers came in, and of course we've got another content creator that is out there on the scene, and this is pretty interesting content. Otherwise, I wouldn't say it. I've got the voicemail off, or the voice off, but I did want you guys to see just how incredibly dark it is. It is dark in this area. And we found out a tidbit of information that is going to upset a lot of you. Okay? Apparently, there is ordinances in this area for light pollution. Okay? Now, I'm sorry, Tucson. If you guys are voting for this shit, you guys are dumb as a box of rocks. Okay? I'm not going to be nice to you. This is stupid. Okay? This is a woman's life. And it's my understanding that the sheriff wouldn't even set up floodlights when they needed to process this because of this light pollution. They have an ordinance. I don't give a rat's ass. You put up damn lights and you do your job. Whether you're going to be fined for it later or not, you do your job. You don't allow a light ordinance to trump a human being's life. And shame on the county commission, the city of Tucson, or whoever put this ordinance out. You guys are foolish and stupid and an embarrassment. How dare you? How dare you? And you wonder why the FBI is in charge. Because we got stupidity in this area. And I'm going to say it just like that. I don't mince my words. I'm very abrasive and just brutally honest. If you guys can handle it, hit that thumb up button, hit that like button. But we're not going to change who we are. That's foolish. That's stupid. And I'd be losing my shit, probably like the family's losing their shit, wanting the FBI in. This is that you what? I tell you, this is getting, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I just can't. Anyways, I just can't. So as you can see, very pitch black out there. But don't worry, the sheriff will come back tomorrow. If you die, he'll come back tomorrow with the team and some sunshine, okay? But don't expect lights to go up in the Tucson area if for any reason you are whatever. Okay, so here's another, make sure it's set up fine on here. It is. So Nancy is nearby. TMZ founder Heavy Levin is sounding the alarms on chilling new developments in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, mother of Today's Show anchor Savannah Guthrie. After analyzing purported ransom notes sent to multiple outlets, Levin believes the 84-year-old woman may be held within a small radius of her Tucson, Arizona home. I've read the letter 20 times last night, and when I started connecting the time frame that they gave in terms of how long it would take to return her to Tucson, it just became obvious to me that would be the circle where authorities would focus. Based on everything that's happening, I'm increasingly believing, that the letter is legit. Nancy is not that far away from her Tucson home. The way it is written, it says bring her back to Tucson, so it doesn't sound that far away or too far from Tucson. The way it's written says bring her back to Tucson, so it doesn't sound like she is in the Tucson proper. But there is some connection this person has with the Tucson community. And Cole, the outlet that got the second letter today, they are a local station. They've been covering this a lot. And what I'm wondering is, they're sending it to the local stations that's really involved in this. Is somebody who's watching the local stations. And if they're watching the local stations, they're probably in some radius where the station's broadcasting. So that's interesting. That's interesting. But Mark Levin is also the one. Let me see if I can find it. Mark Levin. Let's see, is it this one? Okay, let's listen to this. This is going to be interesting.
TMZ.
That's fine. August. Okay, let's see what he has to say.
Which that Harvey had used in describing the note that they got. Harvey, thank you for joining us here. What is your gut on whether or not these notes are likely connected to someone who's actually involved as opposed to some sicko looking for attention?
I am increasingly believing that these notes are tied to whoever may have taken Nancy. And I say that because in the first note, they mention an Apple Watch. Well, it wouldn't be hard to guess that she had an Apple Watch because there were photographs of her with Savannah. But it says where the Apple Watch was located.
So now, so this is interesting. So we're learning that it says about where the Apple Watch was located. So this person is working very, very hard. And you know what I was thinking also is it what was coming to my mind that I wasn't thinking about earlier. And this is in a teaching realm as well. The son-in-law is a teacher. And he has students in his class that he speaks to regularly. Is it possible that it could be a student, that maybe through the years of teaching or, maybe they've talked about his family and some of those teachings, in private information that wouldn't be readily available to everybody that maybe he unintentionally disclosed to the potential captor, if this is truly fact, because I'm not one way or the other on this right now. I feel like the son-in-law does meet a very specific criteria that we're kind of looking for in this case, but it doesn't dismiss the fact that this could be an abduction, but it would have to be somebody that's known or would have, and him talking about stuff in his class that's private information that nobody would think about, but could, glean some insight into the family and into this woman's life. That's a possibility too. So I don't want to take that off the table. That came to me while I was hearing this, and I wanted to make sure I vocalized that as well.
And it was not in a place that you would necessarily immediately think. And that seemed to pique the FBI's interest. The second thing is that it said that the floodlight in the backyard was destroyed. Now, Chris, there is a difference between observing a damaged floodlight and calling it a destroyed floodlight. That word destroyed, to me, and again, I'm taking a leap here, I realize that, but when you say it's destroyed, that may be something you did. If it's damaged and you just see it, you call it damaged. But if there's a light that's illuminating and you don't want to be seen, you kick it, you disable it, and maybe.
I don't know if I agree with that. It was dangling. It wasn't destroyed, in my opinion. It wasn't destroyed. It was dangling. It was damaged. It was, everything I could see, unless the stuff was broken, like the hardware was broken, it looked like it could get be put back up there. I don't know. I have to look at it a little bit more. But it's dangling there from the electrical outlets. I saw it myself, but it was observable. It was readily observable from the outside of the house. We saw it on a multitude of footage prior to this stuff. So those things are not really catching my attention with the ransom letter so far. Just to let you know. Like the fact that the two cameras were broken, that would have been more enlightening in this robbery gone wrong. It seems like but see, the robbery, Mike, the only thing that I have with the robbery is if the robbery went wrong and she caught them and they hurt her as a result of it, typically they hurt her and leave her. They don't take her with them. That's the only problem I have with the whole robbery thing. And so far, we haven't heard anything's missing from the house. We've heard there's a struggle. We heard that something might be broken or destroyed inside the home, but we don't know what it is. But it probably goes along with a potential struggle in the house, right? I don't know. Nothing really jumping out here that says, yep, this is definitely a ransom for me. I mean, yeah, we have a ransom note and yeah, we have, people talking and yeah, I could be completely off base and, just another one of those things that I just got wrong, and I have to own it, right? I'm just not getting it.
Maybe you destroy it. So that kind of, I found that kind of interesting. And it sounds like these two notes are connected. I heard a KLD reporter talking about it, and the construction of the two letters are similar, she says.
Construction.
And I can tell you the structure of the one that I've seen.
Here it goes. Now, I want you guys to pay attention to this because I think this, in my opinion, is telling. Maybe SA possible. Yeah, but still, we've had these cases before. They leave them there. Even with the illegal aspect of it, I know they had Border Patrol there. They are, some people have raised the fact that, Mexico's only 60 miles away. Is it possibly where they could have abducted her and taken her over to Mexico? Could this, we're looking, I can tell you that those conversations have not gone without scrutiny, right? But the reality is, I don't think there's any evidence of that. Of that angle. And so I don't know. But even if we were looking at the, maybe illegal aspect, if we look at, Rachel Morin, Laken Riley, that Nungray, 12-year-old girl, you see all these, what do? They left them there. They assaulted them where they were. They assaulted them and killed them where they were. So, I was at her home with Ellie. Supposedly ICE was at her home with Ellie. I don't think it was ICE. I think it was Border Patrol, Custom and Border Patrol agents because I know that the CBP were there, and that's Custom and Border Patrol agents. And they ended up packing up and going back home because they weren't needed, which kind of helps a little bit, that they weren't needed. So let's listen to how Harvey explains the letter that he read.
It is well written. The grammar is perfect.
That is the problem. You guys hear that? That is my biggest problem. Is it's perfect and the grammar is stellar. Okay? These are things that people that are poets, that are teaching classes, that write music are very, very good at. And so I don't think that this here takes away from the son-in-law. I think it adds to it. And it's, again, concerning. How this letter is written is without a doubt very, very, very concerning for me. So let's just go back just a little bit, okay? We're at 2:19. Let's go back 6 seconds.
I've seen, it is well written. The grammar is perfect. It is structured and layered. And she said she saw the same thing here. And it has the markings that these are written by one and the same.
Okay, guys. Okay, I don't know if a Mexican national, which I'm just saying, I'm not, it's just people are saying, she might be over in Mexico. I don't know if they're going to have proper grammar. Okay? You're talking about a well-constructed, and he even said in another interview, let me see if I can find the other one, because this is not the one. This is not the one I originally reviewed. Harvey Levin. Oh, I put Mark Levin. Why did I put Mark? Harvey? I don't know why I did that. Hartley Levin. Ransom letter. This is the one. This is the one. Hold on. Let's put this up. This is the one I remember seeing. This is the one. Give it a second.
Let's go now to Harvey Levin, founder of TMZ, which received a ransom note for Nancy
I'm pretty
Guthrie.
sure this is the one.
Harvey, you just heard what Mary had to say.
Because I remember, I don't ever put this lady. I think this lady's a freaking basket case. So, I don't hardly ever put her on. I think, and I've only put her on, and it's only been with this case. So I'm thinking that this is the one that I watched, but I'm not 100. So I won't know until I start getting into it. But he says some things that are super, super interesting about this letter, and I think this is the one.
All the details that she was able to share, and you
Thank
having
you,
the
guys.
context of seeing that original letter. Okay, what do you hear from Mary?
She sounds somewhat alarmed when she kind of describes as much as she said she could.
Who's Mary? Why am I going crazy here? She just said something about Mary. Who the heck's Mary? Did I miss something? Okay, anyways. Hey, Snow Feathers.
It doesn't seem coincidental to me that on the heels of this, they went back out to the house and Mary said that they want to really show that they are the people, or this is the person who has Nancy Guthrie. And it seems like the investigators are going out to the house to verify what is in that letter. I mean, I think that seems...
So, who's Mary? Is Mary one of the anchors at a news station? Leave her face up while he's talking. She's pretty. Sorry, Harvey grosses me out. I don't like this lady. I don't like her at all. I do not like it. Erin Bennett, I think, is what her name is. Oh, golly, she's
seems kind of clear. It would be very coincidental that they would clear the area.
Come on.
Their end game, at least in the first letter, was getting money. And if they think they need to show something additional, and the family is asking...
Where is the part?
but this wasn't a ransom demand. And she said there were, I don't remember the exact words, Aaron, but it sounded to me like she was saying there's something very sensitive, and it almost felt alarming.
I don't know if this is the one. But either way, let's get back to this one.
Sending something to TMZ, I get. Sending something to KOLD is very specific. Harvey, does that pique your interest as it does mine?
Yeah, I heard what you were saying to Elizabeth, and I could not agree with you more, that this is somebody familiar with the Tucson area.
I'm sorry. It's just hitting all the, the more that we're kind of diving into this, they all switch news stations. Yeah. I don't like her talking, but at least she doesn't have hair on her face. I'm praying this comes to a close this week. I think it will. We got something coming up in just a few moments from Donald J. Trump. But let's see if we have any more on this letter here. Let's see what they have.
And is familiar with the local station. And I will go a step further, that, they sent it to us, and we were more forthcoming than KOLD. They were playing it close to the vest. And we got the same letter 12 hours after KOLD did. So it was almost as if they wanted people to, some media outlet to talk about more than KOLD was, and they sent it to us. So I don't know if we're going to get this other letter in another 12 hours from now. I don't know.
So it sounds like whoever did this was passing around these ransom letters through the media, and they weren't talking about them. So maybe that's the reason why they decided to go to TMZ, because they knew TMZ would put it up, which they did, right? They did. So well-written letter here. Oh, here we go. This is where I found out about Air Force One. Hold on. Let's go to Air Force One. Let's listen to what my BFF has to say.
Is now Savannah Guthrie's family, the full support of federal law enforcement. FBI is now.
I'll give you a little statement. I think we're doing very well.
That's good.
On that regard, you're probably surprised to hear that. I think we're doing very well. Very well, meaning we have some clues, I think, that are very strong. And I think we could have some answers coming up fairly soon.
Is this a nationwide search? Is this a search going to Mexico?
I'm not talking about a search. I'm talking about a solution.
Oh.
We have some things, I think, that will maybe come out reasonably soon from DOJ or FBI or whoever that could be
A suspect?
Yeah, could be definitive.
When do you expect us to?
A lot's taken place in the last couple of hours. A lot of things have happened with regard to that horrible situation in the last couple of hours.
So there you guys have it. I mean, he's the one that flooded the area. He flooded the zone with federal agents to assist. The sheriff was absolutely welcoming of the federal support. It sounds like, a few things have happened. It sounds like they're taking over the federal investigation. It sounds like the feds are now involved, and they're running the case. It's from what we're seeing, and I don't know if it's official that they're running the case, but that's what Brian Enton had reported yesterday, that it appears that the FBI is now in charge. And so I think that the sheriff has voluntarily relinquished this case over to the feds, which, when you have a high profile case, and let's be honest with you, it seemed like this poor sheriff was drowning. He didn't know what to do. Obviously, we're watching the feds go in there, taking cameras off the property, really doing a thorough investigation, taking the vehicle, not leaving any stone unturned. He wasn't willing to do that. I mean, hell, he was more concerned about a light pollution ordinance than doing his damn job. And again, I like the sheriff. I don't want to be mean to him. I don't want to be rude to him, right? He's a nice guy. Sometimes we need balls and backbones, not a nice guy. And that's the problem we have in this case. He's a nice guy. He doesn't have to deal with this very often. So we, for the rest of the stuff, him being a nice guy is perfect for the area. But when you have a homicide and a homicide of this magnitude, we laugh at you when you talk about you can't turn the lights on because of a stupid ordinance. Okay. That would, if I would have realized that was going on, that would not have went over too well with the Bullhorn Betty show, our clientele here, or me personally. If I was out there in the area, I would definitely be throwing up a fit, a very, very loud. If anybody knows anything about me, one thing I do very well is loud, okay? I'm a very loud person when I'm out in the field. I'm very loud. I'm very quiet when I need to be. But I'm very loud, okay? I'm very, very, very loud. So police went to Annie's house. They didn't go in. They just went to the door, talked to them, and then they left. So I kind of feel what this might mean is because they took some things and they were issuing a warrant onto the property of their mothers. Their mother is missing. I'm pretty sure that they are required to provide legal contact or information to the people that are ultimately responsible for this area. In this particular case, it would be the immediate family, the siblings, right? She wasn't married to a man. She lived at home alone. Her daughter lived, 4 or 5, less than 5 miles away from her home. Everybody is over at her sister's house, kind of staying there while they find out what's going on with their mom. And again, this has got to be very, very hard for the whole family, especially with everybody talking about the brother-in-law. This is, again, got to be very difficult. So we're trying our best to understand that this is an uncomfortable situation while maintaining the integrity of the show. Okay. At the end of the day, we're not worried about people's feelings. We need to tell the truth. We need to get information out there. We need to get people engaged, and we need to get people kind of rounded up. And if you are in the immediate area, sending stuff off to law enforcement that might help aid in the work that they're doing out there. For every single person, a lot of people that are on social media all the time and bounce from channel to channel, you guys think everybody knows this case is going on. But I can personally tell you from my experience with boots on the ground investigations, that's not so. Yes, this is a high-profile case, and yeah, it's a high-profile case around that area, but typically, removing Savannah from the Today Show, any normal case, it's amazing that people over on the next block don't even know that there's a missing person or a homicide that happened on the block over. There's been so many times that I've been out there, out there advocating, and people are like, what's going on here? And you tell them, like, oh, that happened here. They've heard about it in the news, but they didn't realize it was right in their backyard. And so people will start getting out and start talking now that they know, oh my gosh, I remember this house. I remember this person. Next thing you know, you got this person walking up to you, that person walking up to you. They're wanting to tell you everything that they know about the situation, hoping that maybe it'll get out there and help. And so that's really how we derive a lot of information. But in this case, you've got news media stacked up at Annie's house as well as Nancy's house. So you've got, and law enforcement is hitting both of those areas. And that's what was so shocking, is that they went to Annie's house and impounded her car from her house. It wasn't a car that was just happened to be at the crime scene and they decided to take it in because when they went to the house, it just happened to be in the driveway. If you guys remember the Idaho 4, that's what happened to Ethan's brother. Ethan's brother, Hunter, he parked in the driveway. Well, when they shut down the scene there, his car got swept up in that as well. He couldn't get his car out. It was, once they put up the perimeter, everything inside that perimeter is now evidence. So his car got taken. Even though it had nothing to do with the crime. It just happened to be there when they put the crime scene tape up. So, we were looking for something like that. And then we find out, and this is what was being harped on by Ashley Banfield, is it was taken later, and it was taken by warrant and logged in as evidence. That's the concerning part about this car. It's not normal and customary. They had to go to a court. They had to explain why they needed and what evidence they believe they're going to be able to find out of that car. So this is, it's a lot more to do than many people want to acknowledge. But they were at the daughter's house, and I can only assume what they were there for, right? We don't know what they were truly there for. But because of the activity that was going on the outside of their mother's home last night. I believe that this has a lot to do with why they were at her house. They knew they were going to be going here to do all of this, and they were probably giving her the search warrant or giving her a receipt of some sort. Maybe they had logged some evidence and they needed to drop her off the evidence receipt. You don't know what the situation is. You really, really don't. But what we do know is that they were at Annie's house again. They didn't go inside. They ended up, it appeared, dropping stuff off. Now, this comes down to the fact that we have a crime scene there. It's already been processed. This is the third time they've turned this house into a crime scene for processing. This is not good. You want to get in there, get what you need done, and get out. Either they didn't have the proper warrant to do what they needed, and they had to get a stronger warrant, but there's cameras around this house, more cameras than what we know. And that camera right there was on, I don't know if this is the pool house. I mean, you can see an air conditioning, and you can see air conditioning vents on the top of that roof. So it's a nice size building. It's about 1,000 square foot building there that I can't tell what it is. It's either a rental unit or a pool house of some sort. It seems like a cottage home, Either way, it had a camera on that as well. And why would anybody cancel the subscription for Nest? I mean, the lady, from what I'm hearing, is worth millions of dollars. Her daughter has millions of dollars. Her son is pretty well-to-do and even has his own. Planes are expensive to have. He's got a private plane and his pilot's license. So obviously the family is very well-to-do. Why would there be no subscription being paid? I can't imagine that a subscription for a Nest doorbell camera or the Ring cameras are more than $100 a month. I mean, this is an 84-year-old lady that lives alone. It's about as perplexing as the Sebastian Rogers case, where Katie Proudfoot works for Brinks, but yet didn't have any security system, which I don't believe. And had no cameras around their house, though she worked for frickin' Brinks. It doesn't make sense, and they had money. And they had a disabled son. It's just weird to me that you have these things going on. But you know what? You got that producer and his wife in California. They lived in that nice house, and some random stranger off the street came in and killed them with a knife. And they had no cameras. They were multimillionaire producers and had no cameras around their home. Like, this day and age, like back in the day, camera systems were expensive and they weren't stored off. So you had to buy the camera, buy the memory, this big old thing that you had to install a memory card, a huge, and the memory cards back then were like this big. And you have to install it in there. And you can hook up a monitor or you cannot, but you put the cameras up, and I had an 8-channel camera that for my dad's house, when they were coming out, my dad was aging. So I got it for him for Christmas one year. I think I spent something like almost $1,000 for an 8-channel. And that was without the hardware. That was without the memory card. Like, the memory card was another several $100s, and I left that for my dad to get, but I got the camera system. All he had to do was buy the memory card for it and set it up. So they were very, very expensive. This day and age, you can have your whole house outfitted and recording to a cloud-based service for under $500. And have service for about, I don't know, a cup of coffee several times a day, or, several times a week up for a monthly payment. I mean, it's fairly inexpensive this day and age. But hell, even if you don't want the subscription, they have sync cards. Those sync cards, is what it goes into a plug around the house. You can put it in an area that nobody knows about, and you have a sync card where it downloads right to this sync card. So you're always having, and it automatically, whenever your sync card gets full, just automatically overwrites on that sync card. But that sync card is hooked to the internet, and you can literally go into your app or that sync device and pull everything out. I don't need a subscription for mine, and I can see mine anywhere in the world, right? So, and if you want to, you could actually have something that records that and stores that on the cloud, on your iCloud. It's you don't need a subscription. You can do it all for free, but some people don't know that. And long story short is that sounds like what happened here. And they don't have a subscription and probably didn't have a sync card. I don't know if Nest does have a sync card, but it sounds like even if they did, if this was family, then they would have known that and they knew to pull it. But they got cameras around this house. So I wanted to show you guys this because here's one. They went up there and they unhooked the camera. They got the camera down. So we have floodlights, and then we have some cameras, in and around. So these two, so this floodlight's fine, but these two floodlights here are broken. The ones in the red are broken floodlights. So there's floor floodlights. We got cameras. These are the cameras outside of the house. Remember I told you that I saw cameras outside of the house? These are the cameras that were screwed into the brick. These were the ones I was talking about. I did see them screwed into the brick, but the one I saw went down the wall and had a plastic tubing around it and a circle. It wasn't this particular camera. It was a different camera. Maybe it was an old security system. Maybe she had multiple security systems, and maybe the old one, they just discontinued maybe they still had the software and stuff still hooked up, but they just didn't realize it was recording. But I got to tell you, she looks like she had several cameras. Who would go and pay somebody? Because she didn't install these. So they most likely had to pay somebody to install all these on the house. If you're going to pay this kind of money, and I'm sure it costs a little bit of money to have these cameras installed around her house, why would they not be monitoring them? That's interesting.
After he spoke with Savannah and pledged federal resources to help.
We have some things I think that will maybe come out reasonably soon from DOJ or FBI or whoever.
We already heard that, so I think that's pretty interesting.
Heard. The camera was disconnected. Blood on the porch. Her pacemaker was disconnected. The first question everybody is wondering is, what are the chances that Nancy Guthrie is still alive? Your best guess.
Well, it's been a number of days, and I'm certainly not a medical expert, but for somebody that needs daily medication and uses a pacemaker, it's very concerning that this much time has passed. So I will tell you from experience that we will operate as though the victim is alive until we know that she isn't. And everything we do is expedited in a way that, we're covering every tip possible, doing everything imaginable that we can do to bring that person home safely back to their family. So, I think everybody is praying and hopeful that she's still alive. But, the longer it goes on, the more concerning that it goes. And especially if she doesn't have access to any of her medication, her pacemaker is certainly a concern as well.
Which I'm so curious that the FBI or the sheriff mentioned that they're now talking with pharmacies in the area. Like if anybody asks for certain medication related to whatever her health ailments are, isn't that tipping off these possible abductors that, then we shouldn't request the medication?
Well, it could. And again, as I mentioned, everything's kind of a measured response. I think it's certainly for lead value. I don't know if the suspects knew that Nancy had some of these health problems when they ended up abducting her. And they may have found that out. And now they realize that they want to keep this victim alive and don't want to be charged with murder. They got to find some resource for that medication.
Sure.
And
What do you guys think about the abductors still trying to communicate? I mean, it's kind of interesting. Kevin, I would bet that would be my best guess, but I don't know. Wrong person to ask.
So certainly contacting pharmacies and hospitals would be in line with that. And again, you walk a fine line, like how much information you release, and sometimes releasing some information like that may actually lead to some tips and things. People will say, well, somebody was just in here, asking for that particular kind of medication, and that would give law enforcement some tips and value.
They released
I'm wondering why nobody is considering that. I mean, we haven't heard any professional talking about whether this could be a hoax or, what this is like. Everybody's wanting to come up here and show us their professionalism in a hoax. Why is nobody educating the public in the probability of this being a hoax, So I'm just still trying to make heads or tails. So love you the most is saying it's not Thomas. It's not Thomas. I don't know whether it is or not. I just know he would fit. He would fit what we're looking for. But so would other people, So it's not definitively him, but it is concerning that they did take the family car, his wife's car, which allegedly is the same vehicle he drove her home in. From my understanding, they weren't in the SUV. He was in a different vehicle when he dropped her off at the house. So I'm not all in that it's Thomas. In all honesty and fairness, he does fit. It's if he ultimately is the responsible party, it wouldn't surprise me in the least. There's a lot of reasons that I say that, and it almost supports it even more with the explanation of the letter, because out of everybody in that entire family, there is only one teacher. Let's find out what he teaches. Let's find out what Thomas teaches. Does Tommaso Cioni say do for a living? Okay. Let's go into AI mode. Let's just see what we got here. Can you guys see this? Okay, good. You guys can see this. So he's a longtime educator and musician. So his primary profession creative activities include he is a teacher over 15 years at Basis or Valley, a charter school in Tucson. He primarily instructs sixth graders on science and biology. He's a bassist and vocalist for local Tuscan rock band called Early Black. The band, formed in 2007, plays a blend of rock, post-punk, and shoegaze. Writing. Cioni is described as a writer and a poet. Okay? You guys see why it's so concerning for me whenever we hear... Right here. Can you guys see that? Is it up yet? Yeah, there it is. Right there. This is why it is so, and listen to what she says. Annie has referred to him as a great manifester who writes poetry with his lifestyle. He's a writer, folks. This is so important because what are we learning about the ransom note? And again, the problem I'm having with the ransom note is I believe it's a hoax. And I've stated that I believe that obviously if the author is saying things that are true in the crime scene, then the author must be the person that hurt Nancy. But again, it's coming back to the fact that this was so well written. And what do you got? You've got a man that's a writer, okay? And he's a poet. And so you're talking about somebody that writes, and so fantasy. I always said that this ransom seems something for the movies. I don't know. I think that, we're looking at this. I think the ransom writer is the person that may have hurt Nancy, but I don't believe that they truly took her for ransom. I think that the ransom option became an opportunity that somebody decided to use to take the heat off. For example, everybody, once they learned that this was Savannah Guthrie's mom, they asked, was there a ransom note left at the house? And I think that that's when the manifestation of a ransom note became an option for the person, because it was never right away. And then all of a sudden, it became a reality days later. So I feel, and I've said from the beginning, that the ransoms very rarely happen. Not that they're not, we're still entertaining. Is it legit? Is it not legit? I do believe that the letters are obviously written from somebody, right? I don't think a bot's generating them and sending them. So there is somebody out there. Do they truly have enough detail of the case to say, okay, it's them, right? It seems like law enforcement is taking them seriously, so they must have something in there that's making them pay attention. But could this be, like, for example, and I'm going to say it, even though I'm not saying it, this is an example, not somebody, because it's just something that you guys are familiar with. For example, Ashley Banfield has accused, or states her source has stated, not necessarily accused, but it says a source has stated that the son-in-law, Tommaso Cioni, is a suspect. Well, now we find out that the ransom note was well written, proper grammar, and it was expertly written, okay? And then we find out that the son-in-law that everybody's pointing the fingers to is a writer and a poet. And it kind of gives you that moment, right? So, again, I'm not saying he is the person, but he does fit a lot of the boxes, okay? There are still other people that would fit these boxes, such as his student body, his pupils, right? They're not college grade. They're sixth graders. But, I mean, we've speculated they're different things. I'm sorry, I'm going to try to keep this in the same thing. I can already see the hate channels preparing their thumbnails. Bullhorn Betty, what is it? Bullhorn Betty accuses a sixth grader of homicide. Okay, I can already hear that one coming, right? AI can expertly write, but it does raise eyebrows. It does raise eyebrows. But I think, well, wouldn't they be able to tell if it was written by AI? I thought you could plug stuff in and find out that it's written by AI versus somebody. I think it's the way it's constructed. I think the way it's constructed, we're going to find out people that write have a writing style, and it's kind of like how they speak. It's hard to change, right? It's very, very, very hard to change. So, his wife is a teacher of poetry at AU, and they're saying, let's see. Annie Guthrie. Let's find out what Annie Guthrie does. Okay, what does Annie Guthrie do? For what does... She's also a writer. Mama, if you can hear me. I'm like, okay, that's a little extra for me. So she's a writer and a poet. She's the author of The Good Dark and has been teaching what the flip is that? Oracular writing? Oracular writing? What the hell is that? Oracle writing is a prophetic, cryptic style that presents insight as if from a divine source, often using ambiguous, metaphorical, and authoritative language to deliver profound truths. Okie dokie. You are right. She's a marketing director. She's not a teacher. So she is the author of poetry, blah, blah, blah. How much does she make a year? So she makes, that's a big difference though. The typical range about 90. So she makes right around $100,000 a year. Could somebody that makes $100,000 a year, could somebody pay for a $650,000 house? I think so. I would think so. Let's see how much she makes a year. So he makes about 65 to 70. So, I mean, between the two of them, I mean, on a conservative level, based on these numbers, it looks like they're bringing in about $150,000 a year in total income. I would think that that's sufficient to live off of. I mean, hell, it's a hell of a lot more money than I live off of, right? It's a hell of a lot more money than probably many of you guys live off of. So I would think that that would be enough income to support a $650,000 home. Without a doubt. Maybe she got a raise and she decided to move closer to her mom. So I thought those were interesting questions. We've all had them. But let's get back to her, what she's well known for. So okay, so she makes that much money a year. She's an acoustic and she's a songwriter. So they both have impeccable writing skills. This is going to be interesting. An expert in science of sound and experimental composer. Acoustician, which she holds a PhD in architectural acoustics and works as a senior consultant for AREP. Interesting. She is a professional French horn player and composer who works often to blend fields recording with agriculture acoustic phenomena. The daughter of folk legend Arlo Guthrie and the granddaughter of Woody Guthrie. So they have a family. They have a pretty strong, notoriable family. I mean, Arlo Guthrie, and she's a granddaughter of Woody Guthrie. She's a singer and songwriter, multi-instrumentalist who releases her own solo debut, Dragonfly, in 2006. Interesting. Coach, a national board certified health and wellness coach who helps women build sustainable wellness habits through her platform, Coach Annie Guthrie. She's a writer and jeweler. So it sounds like she's the breadwinner in the family, which again leans heavily on her dude, right? I'm sorry, but something happened, and it appears that it would be closer to home than many may assume.
timeline, which was quite specific. And you could tell there was this 45-minute window, if you will, between, I think it was 1:45 or something like that. What does that 45-minute window of time tell you in terms of...
Interesting. Good question.
You know, when they saw that image of a person, even though the camera was disconnected, the system told them there was an image of somebody and then her pacemaker being disconnected. What does that window tell you?
Well, it can tell us a lot. You know, again, according to the timeline, you know, she got home about 9:48 p.m. The garage door went down around 9:50. Again, don't know, you know, the relationship to that, whether she went in the front door or through the garage, whatever.
I don't know if that's true. Who said that? I don't think that's true because we've heard that Nancy Guthrie, see, it says note, if you're asking due to the recent news of Nancy Guthrie and her mother recently in the public eye regarding the disappearance of her mother in early 2006. So this is the same Annie Guthrie we're talking about. And I did know that she was a writer and a jewelry person, and this is talking about her writing The Good Dark, and this is the correct Annie Guthrie because she did write that book. So maybe go check that out because here, actually, I'll just show you. This is the right Annie Guthrie. There she is, right there. Can you guys see that? Oh, you can't see it. Hold on, let me move her there. There she is. There she is. That's the author of the book. So, yeah, we got the right Annie Guthrie. They're researching. This is the true Annie Guthrie that I just read you. So, just so you know. I mean, I'm glad you asked. I'd rather people ask than instead of assuming, and we can at least give you receipts so you know for a fact that we're talking about the right person. But I'm glad you're catching that because there are people with different names, you know, and are the same name and they can be interchangeable, and sometimes people have mixed them up. I mean, for example, some people intentionally mix them up, you know, because in Sebastian Rogers' case, stuff was going around about the national spokesman, and when you looked at the paperwork that was being passed around, like just actually look at it instead of just listening to what everybody else is saying. Oh my gosh, he's a felon, this, that, and the other. And it's like, you looked at it and they had the rap sheet for a 40-year-old black male named Tony M. And the Tony M that was the national spokesperson is a 50-year-old white guy, okay? And people were passing this around and actually believing it's not her father. I'm sure it's not her father. They may have something incorrect on there, but everything else was correct. I don't know who Arlo, and even when we plug stuff into our own AI, this stuff gets jumbled. Like yesterday, it was clear that they were talking about, and I've sent all the reports in, and it said Savannah's husband instead of Annie's husband. And that was from AI. And it's well known because just in a sentence above it, it was talking about Annie's husband, Thomas. And in the sentence below it, it's talking about Savannah Guthrie's husband, Thomas. So it was even AI gets a little jumbled. So, you know, that's, at the end of the day, the Arlo, I didn't know who she was. I don't know. Let's find out. Is Annie Guthrie truly? Let's find out. It's obviously this is catching up a few people on here, so we do know who. Annie Guthrie, sister to. So we give it a little more information. Charles. So Charles Guthrie. Okay. So then not Arlo's daughter. Okay, no, Annie Guthrie, the writer and jeweler, is not the singer Arlo Guthrie's daughter. The confusion comes from the fact that there are two well-known women named Annie Guthrie. One that's okay. So one that's a writer jeweler and one that's a musician. Okay, so let's write. We are only curious about the writer jeweler. All right. So we did have most of it right, except the first few statements. So there we go. So now we're going to ask, so what is the net worth? Oh, what does she make annual? Let's see if that's still the same. Because she still works for the same. So this changes things a little bit. University of Arizona's typically earn between 69,000 to 110,000. Much different. So we don't know what she did, but if they both make about, I don't know, $60,000 or $70,000 a year, that's still $150,000 a year amongst both of them. They could afford a $650,000 home. So she's also earning a median salary about $50,000. She operates by commission only a business out of Splinter Brothers and Sister Warehouse, independent bench jewelers in Tuscon. Median salary is about $50,000. So I do think she's making quite a bit of money, at least about $100,000 a year. So she has taught oracular writing at the University of Arizona, but these positions are often paid per course through fellowships. And she was awarded in 2016. So I think it's good to say that she makes right about 100. I think we're safe in conservatively saying that she's most likely the breadwinner, and she makes about $100,000 a year. Probably the lowest, but not horrible income a year, and again, she can afford the house, and that's been it's the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it seems like it's been a sticking point with some people in my audience and some people around the country, whether they can really afford this house, and maybe that was the reason for this whole situation where the brother-in-law may may have wanted something from the grandmother. And either way, we're still not. Again, I just want to make my position known across this board because I get nasty grams from you guys, and I'm not saying that Thomas did do it. I'm not saying he didn't do it. Okay, I'm saying we don't have enough information to point the finger. I can tell you that the person I'm looking for would be somebody like him. In my opinion, I do not believe that this is a true ransom.
Or if she went in alone,
like
right? We don't really know if she went in alone.
That's right. And so, a lot of that's unknown at this point. And, to have the doorbell camera disconnected at 1:47 a.m. tells me that they were not aware that she did not have a subscription for the camera, for the video recording and that.
That's an interesting perspective. They took the cameras. I'm not sure I agree with that because I don't know how taking the cameras. I don't know how taking the cameras would have been a benefit if she had a subscription. Like you're already on the camera recorded in a third party area on a cloud. I don't understand how them taking the cameras would imply that they must not have known she didn't have a subscription. They were probably worried that the cameras have a short-term capturing because she didn't have a subscription. You know, many people don't know whether those cameras hold anything. We don't know. I mean, I've never asked, did the cameras hold 5 minutes of footage on a little memory card in the camera that nobody knows about? You know, I don't know if I agree with this professional in that sense. Just my perspective. He's the professional, though. Just wanted to let you know that.
You know, when you talk about how much a subject knows about their victim, you know, it's possible they didn't know about her health issues. It's possible they didn't know that she didn't have a subscription for her video camera. So, you know, whether or not that turns out to be significant or not in the investigation, we don't know. But to me, it speaks of they didn't know everything about her, you know, that maybe they should have.
And to this point, we also don't know what happened in that time frame of whether or not something far worse took place.
See, I don't know if I agree with him. The 45 minutes should be a red flag. Like, who hangs around a house for 45 minutes when they're unknown to the person? Like, he didn't get into that. I'd like to see his record. I'm not to be disrespectful, but I would like to see his record in how he's processed scenes in the past. Maybe it's just something that I just totally disagree with because of the way my brain cells thinks. But I just, this whole statement he's made, and again, I'm not the professional. He is. I totally disagree with. I totally disagree with his assessment, the professional's assessment. I'm sorry, I just do.
Within the home, we don't even know if she was abducted alive.
Right. Well, and then, you know, for her pacemaker to be disconnected at 2:28 a.m., again, that indicates she's out of range. So, and then certainly they indicated that the blood droplets have been tested and in fact come back to Nancy, which indicates some type of violence took place in
Told
there.
you. Yep.
So what exactly it was, whether she resisted, whether they tried to, you know, knock her unconscious or something to, you know, help get her out. Again, those are all things that we don't know. But when you've got a blood trail, that's typically not a good sign.
The sheriff was adamant by saying, let me be clear, we don't have a suspect. We don't have a person of interest in this case. But then he also said, no one's been ruled out. What does that exactly mean then?
This is going to be interesting how he answers that, but I think I know exactly what it means.
Well, you know, I think in a lot of the cases that I've worked over my career, we had many tips called in, not only on kidnapping cases, but for example, the I-270 case with, you know, we had 5,700 tips called in and it was tip number 5,444 that led to the resolution of the case.
Wow.
So, you know, on the one hand, they're saying, you know, we have not ruled out anybody yet. But on the other hand, they're saying, you know, we don't have a suspect. I can tell you that we wouldn't announce that we have a suspect if we did.
Okay, so thank you for him saying the things that they don't like you to know. Let me let you listen to that again.
Have a suspect. I can tell you that we wouldn't announce that we have a suspect if we did until we knew what we were talking about. We had evidence necessary. And because if we indicate we have a suspect, they may panic and, you know, hurt or kill the victim. Yeah. So you really don't want to indicate too much that you have a true suspect in that. So I can understand why they're doing that. And
I believe that they must have somebody because President Trump was pretty, I mean, I don't know if you guys saw that. We'll go back to it. But President Trump's statement looked pretty confident. He thought we have a solution to this issue. He thinks that we know what happened.
The safe thing to say is we're not ruling anybody out.
Let's get to the ransom note, Harry. How common is it for someone to send a ransom note to a media outlet.
This is interesting because I want to know. I think this will be. I've looked into it. It doesn't look like we've had a lot of ransom stuff going on. Back in the day, the 30s through the 60s, we had a lot. We had a lot back in the 90s, early 1900s, 30s, mid area, mid 90s, and 1900s, 1930, 40s, 50s, 60s. There were some, even Frank Sinatra Jr., I believe, is one of them that were kidnapped for ransom.
Instead of the family.
Well, I've heard about incidents like that before where notes have gone to, a media outlet and that. If you might have been around when the Thomas Lee Dillon case was around. He ended up writing a letter to the Times Leader newspaper indicating that he was the killer of Jamie Paxton. And
okay, so why did I don't. Oh, there we go. Jamie Paxton. Let's look up Jamie Paxton. Jamie Paxton. Thomas Dillon. Here we go. This was back in 1989 and continued to 1992. Just to put it into perspective. I just want to make sure we have an understanding of what we're talking about here. Okay, that's all. That's all I'm saying. I just wanted to know who it was. So this was back in the 80s, late 80s.
And so, I mean, I've been involved in cases where they don't want to send it directly to law enforcement. They're afraid to do that, or to the media. So they pick some other, where they feel it's safer for them to get the information to. And when you send it to the media, it's going to get some traction.
But it didn't. And that's why they're saying that it went to TMZ, is because the other news stations didn't broadcast it.
Because they're going to run with that information and indicate that.
So somebody wanted the people to know that it was a ransom. Maybe we should look into this. Let's look into this. Jamie Paxton was 21 years old, crossbow hunter from Bannock, Ohio, who was murdered November 10th, 1990. His death was a crucial piece of the investigation into the Ohio roadside sniper, which was Thomas Lee Dillon. So we had a sniper. We had somebody that was targeting people. So this is a little bit of a different scenario. Paxton was shot 3 times from a distance with a high-powered rifle while deer hunting in Belmont County. In 1991, his killer sent a chilling typewritten letter to the Time Leader newspaper stating, "I'm the murderer of Jamie Paxton." So he's talking about a murderer, not an abduction, not a ransom. So that's a little interesting. So he's talking. This is Apple. He's speaking about apples and oranges here.
Hey, there's a ransom note out there. So, if I'm a suspect and I want to get attention on the case and everything and put pressure on law enforcement or the family, I'm going to send it to the media. And, I know that it's not going to kept quiet, there's a ransom note out there.
They waited some time, though, more than 24 hours before sending that. Is that just because they wanted to see what kind of play this would get first?
It isn't
I'm
adding up,
assuming that
Nosy Rosie.
These individuals that are involved, and I got to believe, obviously, there's more than one, in order for all these things to have occurred, and that the abduction, I'm assuming that they had to watch the house and see when she came back, assuming it was targeted. So we're talking about multiple offenders here. And I just think that...
They're talking about multiple offenders. I mean, if this was a legit ransom, I think everything this guy is saying is true. I just don't believe it's a legit ransom. It's not good. And then we hear from Harvey Levin that this was well constructed, perfect punctuation and grammar. That's not normal. And then we got 2 writers that are being looked at. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to bridge, but it seems like I'm bridging it, all by itself. If you guys don't know, I have a Substack account, and I put up articles here and there. And we wrote an article on Substack. So this is just to let you know, if you guys don't realize I'm on Substack. Yes, I do write. Yes, I do take time and put photos in there and everything else and make it look like a little article. I think this year we're going to roll out bullhornbetty.com. And I think a lot of these articles are going to be on bullhornbetty.com versus all these different platforms. I think I'm going to streamline everything Bullhorn Betty to one site. So we'll see what that's going to look like as we start going. Sounds like they had AI write the letter. You know what? Just because people have perfect punctuation doesn't make it AI. We got 2 teachers here. 2. And who's going to want the extra record of searching how to write a letter? That's going to leave a ding on your computer or any place you're searching. So, I mean, it's possible. I don't want to dismiss it as that. It's possible. But I've never known AI to be perfect about anything. I mean, I've been using AI for quite some time. But I find it interesting because I think we have 2 writers here. We're having a lot of angst on the son-in-law, the man, Tommaso Cioni, that's married to Annie Guthrie, the oldest daughter. And he's a teacher. She's a teacher, or she's a writer and a marketing director for a university. I don't know. I think it's easy to say AI did it. But I really, truly believe that it's somebody with a very, very good education, like a teacher, that could have authored it as well. Because teachers, let's face it, have impeccable grammar and punctuation. That's their job. So we've got a lot of stuff here. I think it was very telling with what Harvey provided to us. I think it's very telling with what the other newscaster provided us that has seen both of these letters from this alleged abductor. We are having a lot of activity at Nancy's house and a lot of activity at Annie's house. So I'm following what law enforcement is doing, not what's being said out here in the main public. And everything that I'm watching in the media and with people that are boots on the ground is staying near 2 very specific locations, Nancy's home and Annie's home. So I have to think that there are 2 areas that law enforcement is focusing on, Nancy's home and Annie's home. Those are the 2 places that law enforcement is, folks. Those are the 2 places law enforcement is taking evidence from. Okay? There is no other source, no other place that law enforcement's pulling evidence from other than Nancy's house and Annie's house. So we have to take that and we have to apply Occam's razor here. Okay? That's not assumed. Okay? Those are factual statements. Law enforcement's at Nancy's house and law enforcement's at Annie's house. We don't see law enforcement anywhere else. Hell, we don't even see law enforcement out there really searching a whole lot of that terrain. Why? Because they probably don't believe she's there. They probably have evidence that she was removed from the property. But whose house are they at? They're not at some random stranger's house. They're at Annie's house. So, we've got to look at the evidence where the evidence is. And at the end of the day, there's 2 focal points of this investigation right now that I'm looking at. Now, are there other ones that we don't know about? It's possible, If you guys do hear of any other stuff, we're trying to piece this together. I don't want it to be the son-in-law. Okay? Let's be clear. That's why I'm trying to tap dance. I'm praying to God there is something that comes out that takes the focus off him. But everything that I've been seeing is putting the focus and the flame under his ass. So we have to look at this. We can't dismiss the son-in-law. We don't know him. I'm sure everybody's, that knows him is speaking highly of him. But at the end of the day, he was the last one that saw this lady alive. It surely feels very personal. And I'm praying to God that this is a third party. I'm praying to God that we find out that this is some whack job that thought that they were going to get rich off of hurting an elderly lady, and she's doing just fine. I'm praying to God that ends up being the case. But we've done a lot of these cases, and what ends up happening is we find out that the ransom is not accurate. It's a hoax. That what ended up happening is somebody that knew this lady, that this lady trusted, or the victim trusted, I shouldn't say this lady, in a hypothetical, the victim trusted, ended up hurting her. And because they hurt her and they know that DNA and all those technology, they knew that they were going to be caught if they left that person there. So they took that person with them to conceal the crime. And that surely feels like what we're looking at here. And so I'm paying very close attention. I'm literally listening to every single word spoken and what those words mean. I'm hanging on everything. And even after all of this noise about the ransom, it's not something that's swaying my decision that this has to be closer to home. In the beginning, I'm very familiar with that. I'm very familiar with that. That is what we call an outlier. We cannot base our problem solving and our common sense on outliers. The majority of the statistics are what majority of the time happens. We have to start there first. People always try to reach for the furthest possible issue or solution, and it's not. Just because it was that way with Elizabeth Smart, how many other cases were like that? Very few. We cannot base our strategy or our problem solving on the least possible scenario. Okay? Is it probable? In my opinion, no. But it's possible. Okay? In the Elizabeth Smart case, I think that even there, it was possible, but not probable. And probably why they looked at the father so heavily. However, the possible ended up being probable. But it's few and far between that they are like that. And we have to differentiate. Is it possible? Could this turn into a case where it's truly a third party, somebody much like the Smart case? Yeah, it could turn that way. But what we're looking at right now, it hasn't. Okay? Could that be maybe when some new evidence comes forward? But what we're sitting on right now, the details that we have right now, the factual information we have recorded right now indicates that it's most likely somebody very close to this lady that did this. And just to make sure that I was on the right path, I plugged everything that we know to be true. I don't, and just to clarify, let me clarify everything that I put into AI. I'm going to go to the file folder right now, and I'll tell you exactly what the heck I put into AI. So you guys can absolutely know what is in there. I put the Chris Nanos 2-2 press conference, the 2-3 press conference, and the 2-5 press conference. I put the interview Chris Nanos had with Live Now from Fox. I put Chris Nano's interview and that was 2-3. I put NBC Chris Nano's interview with NBC. I put the New York Post related to the ransom legitimacy, the way that the anchor spoke about what she observed in the original ransom note. That was plugged in. News Nation, Chris Nano's interview on 2-5 was plugged in. Pima County, the ransom address from the 3 siblings and then the one by the brother alone, that was also plugged in. And the last thing I plugged in was Ashley Banfield's speculation relating to the brother being, or the son-in-law being the suspect. Those were the things that were plugged into AI. And after plugging in all the statements, which it was heavily rich with only Chris Nanos, which is the sheriff of Pima County Sheriff's Department. Okay? And after plugging all that into AI also agreed it is more in line with somebody close to her, something happening in that house, followed by immediate concealment versus the ransom theory. So I wanted to let you guys know that it's not just me saying this. I'm taking the stuff and putting it into, I'm doing, behavioral analysis. I'm doing victim risk continuums. I am doing the criminology outline for this. I'm doing the profile on the subject matter that would be responsible for this. It's all coming back to somebody known to Nancy. So it's not like I'm not doing the work behind the scenes, and it's not like I'm not wanting to have a strong position here on who may be responsible for this, but we just don't have enough here. And everybody can tell you, if I find something, if I find that nugget that pushes me over the edge, I'm all in on somebody. And once I'm all in, I'm gnawing on a bone. I'm a dog on a bone, okay? And so that's the way it is on this show. I'm not there yet. I'm the first person to stand on a hill alone. Okay? Anybody in my chat that's been here for years will tell you. When I make a determination, it's based upon a lot of research, and when I stand on it, I stand on it. And this one, I can't stand on it because we still have so many variables that can go. People are talking about the Olympics. Yeah, we have the Olympics. They're going to Italy. This guy, the brother-in-law is from Italy. Would she have been able to find out some dirt on him when she went to Italy? Who knows? That's a possibility. We also have the fact that she opened up about her prior marriage from 2004 to 2009. Hasn't talked about it for many decades. Very sore time in Savannah's life, and she had just days before her mother disappeared, had just broke her silence about her prior marriage to this producer that's overseas that works for BBC. And that within days of her releasing that about that dark part of her marriage or her life, her mom's gone. So there are some other attributing factors here that we could absolutely play in this that doesn't have anything to do with the family or somebody close that has been in this woman's life in the near future. And would somebody like an ex, we just came off of Monique and Spencer Tepe, and the fact that Mike McKee, which has been arrested and is awaiting trial for their homicide, he was the ex-husband of Monique from 8 years ago. That came and just obviously snapped and went into their house and killed them feet away from their children, orphaning their children, their young children. It's a very, very, very sad case. So you see where I'm going with this. Could it be something like that? So I'm not all dived into, there's other people, like I said when we started this show, that also checks those boxes in the right spot other than the son-in-law. But now you're adding the freaking writing in on it, the impeccable grammar, the proper formation of that letter. That really does sound like a teacher. And we just so happen to have Annie and her husband that's kind of in that realm of English literature and proper grammar and punctuations and stuff like that. I don't think those statements take away from Thomas. I think they add to the suspicion towards Thomas, if you asked me. So still very confused about this case, but we are working through it little by slow, folks. We're just having to slow down, really digest the information we're hearing. That's it. Thank you, Evan Baby. Her ex-husband, Mark Orchard, that's the one she had just recently broke her silence about after decades. And then within days of her breaking her silence about this very sore period of this very famous guy she was married to, her mother is gone. So there is other suspicion out there, folks, that we could, attach onto. But the one that's the closest is, what is the number one thing we hear in the true crime community always want to know before anything else? There's one thing when we have a victim or a missing person. There is one thing we ask in every case. Who was the last person to see that person before they disappeared or died? How many times is that somebody they know and trust? 99% of the time. Those are alarming facts. We were taught, and I've said this on my show, I know I've got a lot of new people here that have seen me, probably are just seeing me for the first time, but I've been on these platforms for years. And one thing I've always told my audience is that we were taught in school about stranger danger. We were never taught in school about harms and dangers in our own homes or by the people that love us or allegedly love us the most. We were never taught that in school. Yet the stranger danger is less than 1% of the time. Make that make sense. The majority of all your violence comes from the people you know and love, and they're supposed to protect you. So when people disappear, when people go missing, when people lose their life by homicide, that's the reason why we always ask who was the last person to be around them and who will benefit from them missing or them being deceased. Because usually that's the avenue it ends up being. Now, again, like many said, Elizabeth Smart's case, that's an outlier. Charlotte Senna's case, this is a girl that was truly abducted by a stranger danger. Statistics tell us that child would be dead in a matter of minutes. They would do their thing and kill the child, right? That's the stranger danger abduction. It's literally down to the milliseconds in trying to get a child back, yet she survived days. She defied logic. She defied statistics. Her case is an outlier. We've got several outliers out there, but it doesn't change the fact of true statistics. Yes, do we have ones that were different? Yes, we do. But what are the majority? The majority are cut and dry. So that's kind of where people like me are kind of trying to balance. It's hard, right? We don't want to be wrong. We don't want to turn somebody's life upside down that doesn't deserve it. We know that we have a lot of weight. We have a lot of power being in the true crime genre. And we have to be wise with that power, right? We can't just go and accuse people willy-nilly without sufficient facts on our side. We don't have sufficient facts on our side right now to like anybody for this. Do we have some people that are really coming to, the cream rising to the top? Yes, we do. And I'd have to say the son-in-law is one of those people. Okay. If and when he is ultimately arrested, it will not shock me. If and when somebody else is arrested, it most likely will not shock me. I think we are circling around the right people that might be ultimately responsible for this. But again, this could be an outlier case. We don't know what we're truly dealing with here. And if we were to take all of our information from the poor little sheriff, Chris Nanos, he's already backtracked a lot of stuff. We can't even take his statement. God bless him. He was definitely overwhelmed. I'm happy to see the FBI. Thank you to President Trump for doing the right thing. He knows Savannah. Savannah was not easy with him, but she wasn't as nasty as people are trying to make her out to be. She's a lovely lady. She still has a job to do at the end of the day, and so does everybody else. She doesn't deserve this, and it doesn't matter what she says about the president. It should never matter what you say about somebody. Your First Amendment shouldn't dictate whether you get the help that you need in the time of need that you're in. And again, a lot of people have been very, very jealous and making unkind remarks about her family this, her family that. The bottom line is Savannah worked for it. She worked her ass off for years to be where she is. And I'm going to continue to say this because I worked my ass off, and God forbid something happened to me. I guarantee that I'll rise to the top of a cream top somewhere in Manatee County, the state of Florida, or the United States of America. If something happens to me, I can almost guarantee that. Why? Because I freaking worked for it. And so did she. And if you want to be there, you can work for it too. And you know how to do it? I teach you every time you guys come here. I empower you every single week when I get my ass up and I have to go to those meetings that I don't want to go to for the county, right? That's how you work for it. I don't get paid to be there. I get paid to be here. So every time every time these cameras are off, I don't get paid. So I use the ability that I have, the graciousness that God, the path that God gave me to have a job where I can be here, make money, and still go advocate for my community, my state, and my country. And I utilize that. I utilize every single second that I can to help somebody else. That's how you work for it. That's how you work for it. Not being self-serving your entire life. Serving others. You will rise to the cream of the cream of the crop if you just serve others and do it well. You want to know how to get there, how to work for it? That's how you work for it, right? The world needs to be quit being so damn selfish and start giving back to other people. And I don't think that you guys here, I know we do initiatives all the time of doing nice things for perfect strangers and stuff like that. We're always doing, it's kind of gratitude today, right? We always do things of gratitude throughout the year for other people. And that's how I try to lead by example for my show. So if you guys want to be out there and you want to be taken seriously, get involved. That's how you get to where Savannah is. All right. You put one foot in front of the other and you don't stop until you get where you need to go. That's how you do it. So I'm sorry that, at the end of the day, when you have a missing person, you call in the resources you have, right? Her personal sphere is much bigger than my personal sphere. And it's much bigger than your personal sphere. But when you have a missing loved one, you use what you got, right? She's got a lot more than other people do. Why? Because she worked for it. Would I get this kind of treatment? No, I would not. Do you see me beating her up for it? No. Because you know what my parents are going to do if something happens to me? They're going to tap into the sphere of influence that we have, right? And people are going to be like, well, if they took the time to do this much work for my child as they did for Bo Hornbetty, And it's like, you shouldn't be like that. I get that. But there's millions of people that go missing. And there's only so many of us. We do the best that we can. But at the end of the day, our audience drives the messaging. And let's face it, you guys are the clientele. If we can bring all the cases in the world, but if you ain't watching, what's the point? Okay? So all the people in the audience that want to criticize content creators, we can run cases, but the objectivity here is to make sure people are watching those cases you're running. And if you've got cases that people aren't watching, well, you're doing yourself no service. You're not helping the victim at all. Nobody's paying attention. You have to be in front of the people that are paying attention. You constantly hear me when we have breaking news cases like this one. How many times have you heard me bring up Sebastian Rogers' case, right? I'm always mixing cases into the cases that are always producing the best. Why? Because that's how I advocate for other cases. You have to be smart and strategic throughout the whole time you're doing these things, right? And it's all about getting the name out. It's all about being loud and getting these people in front of people. And the more we bring to you guys in a good show, the more you're educated with the right information. You're not going out there and engaging in all the stuff that spreads misinformation and gets these clicky things going on. We try to be fair. We try to be honest with you. And we try to give you guys the information that you need because you're going to be out here and you're going to hear somebody that's not as responsible that says, he's the suspect. No. And then when somebody else is arrested, it's like, well, we were told this because this, and this. And it's because this person also fit that same profile. But you got to understand, we can't just go out and accuse people because some news organization says, I have a source that's close to the investigation. We still have to do it the right way. Can we look at him? Can we speak about him? Can we go down that rabbit hole? Of course we can. But it's not a fact. Okay, folks, that's the problem. It's the difference. It's not fact. It is an opinion. It is not based in somebody of authority saying, yes, Thomas is a suspect. And as we heard from the detective, would they really tell us? The answer is probably not until they're ready for the arrest. Okay? So is Ashley right? She could be. Is she wrong? She could be. How do we know? We won't know until we know. Okay? So that's kind of where we are. As soon as something gets me over the fence and I've got something like that whole English and grammar and writing thing, it pushed me a little bit further over that fence to start really going in on Thomas and or Annie. You know, we can't remove Annie out of this. She writes too. And again, they're the ones taking care of this aging mother when nobody else in the family is. So is that one of the reasons? Resentment? Money? Maybe not them at all? Yeah. Yeah. It's just like that. That's why we can't sit here and beat and club somebody over the head because we think it might be him. So anyways, guys, rock it out with your coffee beans out. Don't forget to be fearless. If you see something, say something. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And until next time, please be safe, but more importantly, kind to one another, and talking about doing activities for to a perfect stranger. Why don't we, if you guys are out and about today and you want to participate, maybe buy a cup of coffee or a drink for a perfect stranger, maybe the car behind you or something like that, in honor of Nancy Guthrie today, you know, because she seems like she was a beautiful soul and a great, wonderful person, and maybe just showing a little bit of gratitude out there and maybe be a blessing for somebody that's a little more disadvantaged than we are, might be right up our alley here and giving back to our personal communities. All right, guys, we will see you later. God bless. And I'll bring back some breaking news later tonight. I don't know when I will be back. It's Delilah's day. I get back when I get back. Within an hour of me getting back, we will turn on the cameras, turn on the lights, and get a live pushing out and get updated. All right, you guys hear the boss. She's already in here. She says, it's my time, Mommy. So now it's time for her. All right, guys, we'll see you soon.